Hello, everybody. This is Anthony. Be honest, on Mission Star Podcast, and we have another episode of the Conover. We would have had it last week, but some technical difficulties on my end, and this time around it works. But this time we have not just one, but two people for tonight's podcast. Joining me tonight, we have Charmy,
Hi.
and we have our other correspondent that also went, Kachitan.
Hello.
Hey, I didn't forget. Awesome.
You remember the sign?
Yes, I'm not an old man, not yet at least. So you guys went to Kraken Con. It happened last weekend ago. So first question to both of you is, what was different from this year's Kraken Con than last year's?
So I think, Charmy, you didn't go to the Kraken Con from last time. You didn't go to the USS Hornet one, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I reported for Mission Start last time for the one on the USS Hornet. So unlike that one, we're back at the normal Oakland Convention Center. We're back on ground land, not on a boat this time. So it was actually kind of as much fun as USS Hornet was to be on like a new scene for a convention. It was nice to be back in a convention center with like accessible mobility, normal things to see. You don't have to worry about where you need to go to eat. You don't need to worry about how you're going to get anywhere if you're in a wheelchair. So it was nice to be back on back at the convention center. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think that's kind of the pretty obvious distinction. Is like, the last time it was at a ship, and this time it's back on land. So one of the things that I think Kraken Con is kind of getting up there in attendance wise. Recently the numbers came out around 3,500, if I'm correct, which was a massive improvement from last year's, or I would say last year's.
Bless you.
Gesundheit.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think impressed me about Kraken Con is the fact that it is growing very fast in terms of attendance wise, and like I've heard nothing but good things about the convention, including the staff. My question to you guys is, what was some of the things were you able to check out at Kraken Con this year? Not everybody at once.
So me, I was only able to attend on the Saturday. Charlie was able to go for the full weekend, I think. But for me, the first thing I got to do was probably the coolest thing that I've done at any convention that I've been able to do press at. Was they had this really cool intro panel for people who are on press, and also had VIP, which was basically a private panel with some of the guests of honor at the con. And apparently, since con-goers don't like to wake up early, it was pretty much just me and one other guy from, I think he was from Geek HQ. So we got kind of more or less a private interview with three of the main guests at Kraken Con this year. And they were Karen Strassman, who is the English voice actress for Aegis from Persona Q, and then also the English voice actress for Soifon from Bleach. So that was really cool. And then I also got to meet Carrie Karanen, who is the English voice actress for Satsuki from Kill la Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And then, personally, my favorite guest that I got to meet that I didn't even know I was going to be able to meet was Michaela Dietz, who is the voice actress for Amethyst from the super popular cartoon right now, Steven Universe.
Nice.
That was super cool. I got to ask them some questions. I don't want to spoil anything because I'm going to put the, once I can get a mini SD card adapter for my computer for my mini SD card camera, I'm going to put all those videos together, splice them together, make them all nice and pretty so that everyone on Mission Start Podcast can see those, because we got some really cool footage for that. So that was awesome.
Awesome. Was there any given moment when you were doing the interview, it was just like a part of you was just like, oh my god, this is so-and-so from this anime or from this show, holy crap, and then like another part of you is like, I must act professionally somehow.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that, because there was at one point where she was like, she's, for Michaela Dietz, she's just really chill. She's really cool. She's like, not that I didn't expect her to be super chill, but she was just like, she'd like sat on the chair and she was like, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before. I'm like, you're so cute.
Oh my, that's hilarious. That's awesome. So one of the things that I always ask these questions regarding other conventions we've been to, but like in the case of Charmy, since you were out there and out in the field conducting interviews with some of the cosplayers and attendees,
Yep.
what was the general atmosphere at Kraken Con with some of the attendees?
Everybody was all like chill and hanging out with their friends. You know, when you go to bigger conventions like anime, everybody's so intense and there's like photographers everywhere. But this convention, it was more like about the regular attendees and not so much about, how many pictures can you get in your cosplay.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Um, so I think that the follow up question for me then is, and it's also for you, Kasutan, is like,
Mhm.
um, speaking of the attendance and the people there, like how was the crowd? Was it pretty manageable for you guys to maneuver within the convention center, or was it like any given point like so crowded you need to go somewhere else just to breathe?
I mean, it's a pretty, like you said, it's still a pretty small convention. It's a pretty chill convention. Moving room for the dealers hall, pretty dealable. I mean, I'm used to those big conventions like Anime Expo where you really can't move anywhere without like sharing body heat with someone and like feeling them breathe down your neck. So going to like a small, chill convention is definitely some good breather room to just relax and hang out with people. There wasn't really any area that was overpopulated. Even like registration area, super chill, no super long lines. Everything was all good.
Mm, good to hear. Same. Your thoughts the same, Charmy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember last time when I was there, as far as I remember, and as far as I know, like it's still in the same place as it was in prior years in
Hmm.
downtown Oakland in that
Yeah.
convention center or in that hotel. Um, I think in due time, like eventually they will have to move or maybe expand. Because isn't there more room in that hotel that they can use if they needed to? Um,
I think so. From the setup that they used this year, they used the bottom. So yeah, they used the bottom floor, the whole bottom floor, which is like the main ballroom, and then they also use some of the panel rooms upstairs. So I don't know if there's more space in the hotel that they can still utilize, but they're utilizing a good amount of space right now. If there isn't more space in the hotel, then I would see them due for a venue change, possibly in the 2017 year if they decided to. There's no announcement for it, but yeah, I could see them expanding.
yeah. I think it's in general for most conventions to grow, um, like as years goes on, move on to either a bigger venue or to expand the current one. It's still rather impressive to see that this is like what the technically the third year of this convention. Yet it has grown pretty far up in attendance already at this pace. I argue that it is like the young and upcoming conventions to look out for. If anything,
Mhm.
I think in like another like couple years, it may get to like maybe dare I say 7, possibly 8K attendees.
That would be really cool. Yeah, cuz they've definitely been growing so quickly and the convention's so cool and they're so unique in what they do with their convention. I'd love to see it continue to grow and be this upcoming convention that people look forward to in the Bay Area cuz I really enjoy it. It's like my home con, so I have a good time at it.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that it might be the same as it was last year's. What was the general format of the inside the convention center? Was it the same as the last time where everything was all one big room, or was it divided in separate rooms per se?
I think it was more, everything was in one room, except for like panels and everything. Like all the main events and the gaming room was in the same room as the exhibit hall. And I think they actually like made it more compact. I think is the word I'm looking for.
Hmm.
And used less rooms.
Hmm. Okay. Um, the interesting thing about this convention, because generally when it comes to these type of designs, where everything is in one room, is I generally think of like WonderCon, Comic Con.
Yeah.
and comic conventions, and that's kind of how they stylize everything in terms of, like, everything's in one room. There's tons of noises going around and whatnot, and usually anime conventions it's usually very much divided. You have a dealer's hall, you have an artist alley, you have a video game room, and just everything divided. So adapting that same idea for this one is rather interesting, but somehow, like, I've heard nothing but good stuff from the way it's formatted. Uh, like, was there ever a point where there was, like, any noise, like, I won't say complaints, but, like, any noise problems where, like, if you're buying something from the vendor, but, like, you hear, like, people, screaming and yelling, like, on a stage, like, they ever came to that point, or?
No, I don't think it ever did. It's spaced out pretty well to the point where it's like they had the artist alley dealers hall in the middle of this very, very large open room, and then they had the gaming section over on the other side, and then behind that they had main events and also the like anime viewing area.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, even though all those three things were close together, I didn't ever really notice any like excess noise that was distracting from any of those areas. And then on the entire opposite corner, they had the rock band stage. So since they put those two things completely separate from each other, the noise from either side didn't carry over to the complete opposite side. So that didn't distract from main events, didn't distract from rock band, and rock band didn't distract from main events. So that was good. From previous years, they used to have a maid cafe that did sometimes cause like traffic and build up and more noise, but they didn't have it this year, which
I
is
see.
disappointing to some people. I have a friend who works in the maid cafe, but they didn't have that this year, so that freed up more space for other things too.
I see. Gotcha. Okay, so the main cafe wasn't there, but they used that space for. So was that space in, like, the rock band space area, or what was that replaced with?
Yeah, I think that was replaced with the rock band space because I don't know what they would have replaced it with. But that's one thing that they didn't have before, and now they didn't have the maid cafe this time. So I'm like, well, I guess those two kind of switched places.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't know that. All right, that's cool. No, it totally makes sense. I remember when I was there, like they had the gaming section along with, like, video games, people could play with, and at the same time, like, music games, like, in this one small area where people were running into each other trying to dance on screen, and people were trying to play games on the side. It's like, this is not working. But that's cool, and I totally makes sense. I was kind of curious first, like, because, like, the way it was formatted, but it seems like it was pretty well designed to where the noise doesn't really affect anything else. Um, in terms of, and this is something that I think that it's essential. And what, like, in terms of, like, what was your generally your go-to food places when you went to Kraken Con?
For
I
me,
like.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I like exploring panels and just like mainly just like the hallways, just exploring all of the cosplays that people worked on, and yeah. But my main go-to place is the exhibit hall where they sell the Arpaxo dolls. Like I really love those things, and there's so many stores that sell them now. But yeah, I like to collect them. So whatever store has that.
I see. So whatever store is, like, nearby, it's just like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab whatever is in this place and eat it later.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's I think the general rule when it comes to cosplay food is like cosplay food.
Whatever's nearby, whatever
Yeah,
I can put my mouth on.
yeah, pretty much. Kazakhstan, what was your kind of go-to place when you're at Kraken Con?
Yeah, for me, I'm actually a local to the area. I spend a lot of time downtown, so like I'm pretty familiar with any place that surrounds the convention center. For me, when it comes to conventions, when you ask me about food, I'm like, food? What's that? What is food? Because I know cosplayers have the same problem or tend to be, especially if you're wearing very heavy makeup or if you're wearing a costume that's very hard to move in, it's really difficult for you to eat. So, but if I had to eat, there is a really good sandwich place downtown called Ike's Sandwiches, and their sandwiches are awesome. And yeah, I always get one of those, usually after the con's over because I don't want to mess up my makeup or mess up my costume. But it's
Mm-hmm.
always a good time to wind down after you like had a con day. Sit down with a huge like chicken sandwich and just like, yeah, this was a good day.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, can I tell you how many times I had issues trying to eat food in cosplay and like having somebody feed me?
Yeah,
It's like,
you can't even like drink water properly. You're
it's
like,
like, please
Yeah.
feed me, I beg you. I
Yeah.
can't move my arm.
yeah.
That's cool though. That's pretty awesome. Speaking of cosplays, what was some cosplays that stood out to you guys at Kraken Con?
I really liked this girl. Her name is Jedi Moon, and she had the Sailor Moon
Oh, her costume
mixed
was
with the
beautiful.
Jedi, and it was really cute and really creative and original.
And her craftsmanship was so good. The
Yeah,
detail
it
on
really
that was
was.
super good.
Awesome. It's quite fitting for this year that Star Wars is
Mhm.
one of the most popular things regarding cosplay. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty sick. I think I might have saw a picture of that actually online
Yeah,
recently
she's
too.
all over the place. It's really super cool. I think she won something at the cosplay contest, right? I think she did.
Yeah, she won most original.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice, awesome. Kazusan, what was like the general cosplay that stood out to you at Kraken Con?
So every Kraken Con, I always tend to see the weirdest costumes, and not weird in a bad way. Never weird in a bad way, but weird in like the best way possible. Because you typically go to conventions and you always see really good like interpretations of the same character at least 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so at Kraken Con, there's always this specific cosplayer that I can never remember their group name, but they always do really unique costumes. First time I went to Kraken Con, they did this characters from the Muppets. They've also done a Beetlejuice group. And this year, one of their members did Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast, which is the clock, which was super, super cool. And then I was like, how did they even make this? So I recently went on their Facebook page, and apparently they made it like 3 days before the convention entirely out of Ava foam. And I'm like, God, that's just, why would you even think of doing that? And why are you such a genius?
That is crazy. That is like, man, if you take like the last minute college try and you times that by 5, that's what you get.
You're like, I'm going to make this. Why would you even think about doing that? I'm like, that's so cool.
It's like, oh man, I cannot imagine trying to do something like that. That is nuts, but that's awesome at the same time.
It was so cool. I was like, wow, you're cosplaying Cogsworth. I would have never thought of doing that. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome. That's sick. Don't do it at home. Don't do it last minute. But yeah, it's pretty sick.
Don't do it last minute. Says every cosplayer ever to every other cosplayer, and we all end up doing the same thing.
I know. And here I am, like working on cosplays for Fanime. It's like a couple weeks away.
You're not last minute yet. You're ahead of the game at this point.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. But that's awesome. That's pretty sick. I always love kind of creative original cosplays that people do that isn't typically like the norm of like a particular accurate character, but like a character that you don't normally see cosplay as much. Um,
Yeah, but it's super recognizable, and you're like, what the? Why would you do that? That's so cool.
yeah, definitely. Um, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kraken often for its cosplay contests like offer a good wad of cash.
Yes, they
Uh,
do.
so I believe this year was it $500 for the first prize? I think it
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
Who won the cosplay contest for this year's Kraken Con? Just out of curiosity.
The R2D2 of Doctor Who. I still don't know that
Oh,
character's
Oh, it's
name.
the Dalek. Yes, I
yeah.
saw that. That was so cool. The R2D2 Doctor.
Nice.
No, but it was super cool because I saw that thing moving around the dealer's hall, and the way that they made it, someone was actually inside of it, and I didn't realize that. But they made it so that there were lights on the bottom, and then when you walked with it, it looked like it was floating, which I
Oh,
was like, how did
sick.
you do that?
That is really cool. Wow, that is sick. Uh,
Mhm.
awesome. Uh, the interesting thing about that is the fact that not many conventions offer prize money for the cosplay contest. Very rarely you have some. I know AOD does it every so often, and Kraken Con as well. Um, but I always find it interesting to see what comes out of it. And yeah, no, it's the dialect or the not dialect, the Dalek cosplay sounds pretty sick though.
Yeah, and it's like you win that money that you've pretty much invested to make the costume, but I mean it's something.
I love the fact that like they might have won $500. It might have cost the same amount to make that costume.
Exactly.
Or like if you're coming from like outside of the
Yeah, you're
area.
traveling, all that expenses.
Yeah, so it's like it's nothing to scoff at. No, if you're like local, it's like that's a lot of money. But at the same time, it's like man, thanks for paying everything I just got in with.
I know. I mean,
Uh,
no one does it for the money, though. I don't know any cosplay that's like, I cosplay for the money. Who's
that's
no,
true.
no.
That's very true. Very true. Because we spent a lot of it already on it as it is. So, speaking of the convention, we're getting back to the task at hand. Um, so it was only for 2 days. So is there a curfew when it comes to like how long it'll stay open for, or was there like events happening like late at night?
Yeah, this is the first Kraken Con, I think, where they actually had like a nightlife scene. Because everyone knows cons after dark is always the best time to be at a con. But typically the past years, I think Kraken Con usually shuts down around 7, which is about when the cosplay contest ends.
Hmm.
But this year they actually implemented a bunch of stuff that happens after the costume contest too, which was like they had a like formal ball like we kind of see at bigger conventions. Like I think Sakura Con has a formal ball. I think Fanime also has like their black and white ball, which
Hmm.
are super fun. People have a good time at those. And then they also implemented late night karaoke, which I think went from 8 p.m., possibly a little bit earlier, to midnight. So the con was open until midnight. Dealer's Hall, like typical Dealer's Hall, usually closes around 6, but there's still a lot more to do after it closes.
Gotcha. Okay. I kind of wondering if they're gonna dabble into that more as the convention grows more and they start to get more attendees and whatnot. So that's cool. I think that for this convention, I think it's fine. Like I don't think like they really need to push it. They're not at that level yet where they can really expand it to like late hours. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I can see them doing it in due time for sure. But oh, that's cool. What was it? Oh man, I'm already running out of questions. So, so the prices for to go to the convention. No, actually, I'm gonna look it up right now. But like, um, the prices for a full pass wasn't too bad, correct?
Yeah, I have it pulled up right here.
Oh, cool.
Attendee registration. Yeah. So
All
the
right.
prices for the full weekend, if you registered early, was $30 for the full weekend.
Mhm.
And then kids, like most convention, kids under the age of 10 accompanied by an adult was free. And then if you were not an early bird and you waited, it was for the 2-day registration at the door was $40. Saturday only badge was 25, and the Sunday only badge was $20 as well.
Okay. Those prices are very very reasonable. Especially for a weekend like that. That's cool. I mean, it makes total sense regarding the pricing of the weekend. Um, to get back to you, Charmy. Actually, now that I think about it, um, you conduct the interviews with some of the cosplayers and attendees there. How did that go?
I was actually really nervous first because like these cosplayers are like so high up, and I'm like, wow, I see these people, on Facebook and Instagram, and they were just like amazing in real life, and I was just like, wow. But once I talked to them, they were all very humble and very nice and calming, and it's kind of like talking to your friend. And you have to be, when you're interviewing, you have to be, pretty comfortable with who you're interviewing. And yeah, everything was pretty seamless, and I really liked doing that.
Any notable people that you interviewed that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I interviewed Dominique De Leon. She's she's more of like an armor prop maker, and she's only been cosplaying for 3 years, and her cosplays are already like so amazing, and she's already cosplay senpai, and that's like awesome. And then I met Heza-chan, and she's amazing too. She's been in the game a lot longer, and her cosplays are like perfect. Like I saw her Chibi Moon from Sailor Moon cosplay, and it was like it was just so perfect. Like all like everything was just perfect. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can definitely I've seen some of her work before. She's an amazing cosplayer. So it's
Last Kraken Con, she liked my photo, and I almost started crying on Instagram. I was like, oh my god! I was like, ah! And then I walked past her. She's like, I saw your costume on Instagram. I was like, ah!
That's great. That like it's like the ultimate compliment.
Oh god!
The funny thing is so here's the funny thing that happened. At least when I noticed the senpais for Kraken Con. I wasn't gonna be there, but I just kind of looked up, what they were offering, who's gonna be the cosplay senpais. It just so happens like one of my friends ended up being one of them. So it's
What?
like, yeah, so it's like, oh. So I asked her, I was like, so if I went up to you and asked you about a cosplay question, do I do it for you as my senpai the entire time? She's
So
like,
awkward.
so she's like, no, you don't have to do that, you idiot. No, it's just, no, it's cool. I think the whole idea of cosplay senpais is a bit new to me, but it's at the same time, it's pretty cool, having people out there just like give advice about, cosplay and whatnot. It's like, hey, you could do this with like foam and whatnot. It's like, oh, that's awesome. So.
Like some like dreams to become a cosplay senpai, but then I realized I'd be the worst cosplay senpai because it'd be like drink 7 monsters and do it all the night before. Terrible advice.
Oh wow. Yeah, I would not. I don't know what I would do if I were ever at that level. I'd be like, well, want some advice? Well, just
You ain't getting it from me.
stay at home, work on your cosplay for like months, and then you have a cosplay. I don't know. I'd be awful as a senpai. I'd just be off at it. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And those interviews will soon go up on the site. Correct, Charmy?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome, good stuff. Well, cannot wait to see it. Um, so I the only last two questions I have really is like, how was the staff at Kraken Con this year?
I actually got sick at Kraken Con to the point where I couldn't walk, and I had these like huge cosplay wings behind me.
Hmm.
So, one of the staff noticed that I wasn't feeling good, and they offered me a seat. They gave me water. They gave me food. Like they were so caring. Like if it was like any other con, like AX, they would have ignored me because they ignore everybody. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I find the
There is a
AX
line.
staff
That's so
rude.
true.
Okay, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was the same summit for you, Kazuton?
Yeah, actually, I staffed my first year that I attended Kraken Con back in spring 2014, so that was like 2 years ago now. Wow. So I actually know some of the staff personally. It's been a lot of the same staff for at least the main staff members. There's an older lady who's always been there. I've met the two people who founded Kraken Con, who I think worked with Fanime in the past and then decided to branch out and make their own convention, basically. And they're all very, very nice people. They run this convention because they like to. They run this convention because as congoers, they want to see all these people have fun and attend a con. And yeah, they're all really, really nice people. They all take care of their attendees. And I feel like the Kraken Con staff is kind of like one big family. It's really cool. If I ever get a chance again, I would love to work with them again because they're just really nice people.
Nice, awesome. Glad to hear. So my last question to you guys would be, your overall experience. What was some of the good points of Kraken Con? What were some things that Kraken Con could potentially improve upon for next year? I'm gonna start with you, Charmy.
Um, I think one thing I really liked was, the calm atmosphere. And I think something that can change next year would be have the main events, in the gaming room back into, different rooms. Because when you're in the main event and you hear the background noises from like the gaming hall and the exhibit hall, so I wish that they would keep those separate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Kazakhstan, your thoughts on Kraken Con?
So Kraken Con is honestly one of my favorite conventions that I go to twice a year. I really love watching it grow as someone who's been going to it for basically since it started. It's always fun to see how they grow, how unique they are in terms of the convention. They always bring different kinds of events that you don't typically see at conventions. I mean, just the whole concept that they had it on a boat once is super cool. And even now when it's back at the convention center, they're still finding ways to keep it unique, ways to keep expanding, ways to keep making their convention different from other places. The only like very small like con for the con that I have, they're starting to do this now, but I feel like they can probably do a little better with it. They've started holding cosplay gatherings, but I honestly have no idea where they were. There was apparently supposed to be a like Concole gathering that my friend could not find. She was like, "Am I the gathering? Am I the only Concole here?" So yeah, it would possibly, if they wanted to do cosplay gatherings, I feel like they should really hop on that and maybe try and organize that a little bit better because there were gatherings, I think. I don't know where they were, but they were there.
I see.
That's the only one little thing that I have. But other than that, no, Kraken Con's always doing their best, and they always just keep improving what they can improve on every year. So maybe next year I'll know where the gatherings are.
Right, for sure, for sure. Awesome, awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you ladies for joining me tonight on this Conover podcast type to talk about everything Kraken Con. Before we end the show, Katsutan, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kazutan, Kaswtan.
Awesome, awesome. And Charmy, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at my Facebook page at Ultramaniac CC and my Instagram at Ultramaniac IG. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that we all do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. This podcast will be up in the podcast section of the site as well as iTunes and Stitcher. So definitely check out that if you haven't already. I don't know if you're listening to this, then huzzah. So yeah, with that, this will be another episode of the Conover, and next week's episode coming up is going to be me, Ramen, and Jesse's thoughts on BabsCon and how that all went down. So, I am Anthony Bianis. That was Katsutan. That was Charmy. And this has been an episode of the Conover.